So that's it. We're here. We have arrived. It is December 1st, and so bring on the Christmas cheer. And today I'm starting that off very strong. As you can see, I've already donned my annual Christmas jumper. We have started decorating the house, and stay tuned for more on that later. And I am kicking December off with a truly vintage recipe, the classic chocolate Yule log. Now this is very similar to your traditional Swiss roll recipe, which was one of my grandpa's personal favourite desserts. But as it says on the tin, this one's got chocolate. And it's kind of a cottagecore kind of design because, as it says again, it is shaped and made to look like a log that you would find in any sort of woodland or forest. But it is also incredibly festive, and in true retro or vintage style, I'm keeping things very classic by following a recipe from 1953, where I'm going to show you my step-by-step first ever attempt at making a chocolate Yule log and also the chocolate buttercream icing to go on the top. And to be honest, the recipe is a tad more complicated than I first expected, but you know what? Let's give it our best shot. Now, as per usual, we're going to start by measuring out all of our ingredients. But when I'm reading the chocolate Yule log recipe, it first says to use the method as for Swiss roll. So we're gonna flip it to the previous page and measure out everything we need for the Swiss roll, which I think is exactly the same as the chocolate Yule log ingredients, except for cocoa powder. Now this recipe is from 1953, and so rationing, although not as strict, was still in place. But for this recipe, it is granting us the use of 3 eggs, not powdered or reconstituted. Oh, lucky us. Okay, I've got my 3 eggs. Where are you going to live? That will do. And then the first instruction is to whisk the eggs and sugar together in a large basin over a saucepan of hot water. So let's measure out the sugar, and we need 3 ounces of sugar. Do we have sugar here? Oh, I've just gone to the fridge to get some eggs, and they're already here. I already put them out. Well, I'm only kidding. Okay, can't see any sugar, so we will resort to using our little sugar container. So I've gone for my largest mason bowl. 2.5 ounces of flour. I'll need a sieve. And then in the Swiss roll recipe, after you've whisked together your eggs and sugar for about 15 minutes, it asks for you to remove from the heat and then sieve in flour and baking powder. But in the chocolate Yule log recipe, it also asks for cocoa powder. And although it doesn't say it, I'm assuming this would be the moment that you add in the cocoa powder, because in the Yule log recipe, we go straight to after you've baked it. We roll it on paper, which I'm very nervous about. So I'm going to add the cocoa powder when I add in the flour and baking powder, because that just seems like the logical thing to do. Whoa. Now, technically the first instruction is to grease and line an 8x12 Swiss roll tin. So before we start actually making this recipe, let's do that. And I did purchase a Swiss roll tin because I didn't really have anything that worked. So I thought I better buy this because otherwise the shape might be a bit funky. Okay, that is hot water. So now we're going to whisk the sugar and eggs together with my hand rotary whisk for 15 minutes and then do the same but off the heat. Okay, I'm absolutely exhausted, but I'm very happy with the way that that is coiling for a few seconds, just as the recipe says. And now we're going to sieve in the flour and baking powder gradually into the mixture, folding in very lightly with a metal spoon. So let's lose the whisk. It looks great. I feel like I'm baking the cake from Matilda that Bruce eats. Oh yeah, smells really good. It's so mousse-like. Have I done something wrong? Okay, let's just spread it around. Okay, that's about as evenly as I can get it. So we're just gonna try and see if that bakes okay. If you can see my Christmas socks in shot right now, please say nothing. Okay, let's put you on the middle shelf, right in the center. Okay, are you in the center? I think so. Gas mark 6. Okay. Please bake okay.
A few minutes later.
How are we looking? Okay, she's a bit podgy. It says to turn it out onto grease-proof paper, well sprinkled with caster sugar, which I don't have, so I'm going to use icing sugar instead, which I think will work just as well. Oh my gosh, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. I've never been so nervous in all my life. Oh my God, I'm actually shaking. What's wrong with me? Why am I so nervous? It looks good. Hannah, we're doing good. It looks good. Oh, sweet Hannah. Famous last words. Because on unrolling my festive creation, I experienced every baker's worst nightmare. The base had cracked and would not roll. And despite all my best efforts, there was no rectifying this. And so I had no choice but to attempt to bake it a second time.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
That was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life. Attempt 2 feels better. It's hard to tell, but it feels better. And now, according to the recipe, I've got to leave it without filling until cold. So we're gonna let this cool for about an hour. Whew, that was nerve-wracking. I have never been more nervous in my entire life. But just to give you an idea of what I did differently the second time to ensure that I could actually roll it, how sturdy it's going to be, I really don't know. But basically I made sure that the consistency was less mousse-like. It was still mousse-like, but it was a thinner kind of mousse, one that would pour and not plop. And I added, to get that consistency, the flour and the baking powder and the cocoa powder very, very gradually and very gently, figure-of-eighting it into the mixture until the mixture was sort of back to its original consistency before going in again. This was attempt number 1. And basically, the next thing I was going to tell you is that I overbaked this. Now, the recipe did say 9 to 12 minutes. In the end, I only baked the successful, quote-unquote, successful one for 6 minutes, maybe 7 minutes in total, and I kept checking it for that spongy, piping hot consistency. So this was just overbaked, and so it cracked as soon as I tried to roll it, and I took too long with the rolling process, I think. You have to be very quick, which is why it's very nerve-wracking. So this is our first attempt. Because you know what? We don't have to be perfect in this game. Being in the kitchen is all about being creative and trying new things. Okay, I feel like we can relax a bit more when making the chocolate butter icing. So I'm gonna measure out 4 ounces of butter, 8 ounces of sieved icing sugar, and then 2 ounces of melted chocolate or 1 tablespoonful of chocolate powder. So I have the cocoa powder already, but I also have some nice Belgian dark cooking chocolate, and I might use this just to maybe infuse it with a bit of bitterness so it's not too sweet. I'm not entirely sure. I think I'll probably do that. So let's measure out the 4 ounces. Nice big old bit. Wow, a lot. Ugh. Oh, that's pretty much dead on 4 ounces. Then you want to beat the butter and sugar until light and creamy, then add the flavouring and colouring, which I think in our case is the chocolate. The icing may be used for filling and decorating sponge cakes, chocolate logs, or small cakes. And obviously we're doing a chocolate log. 8 ounces of icing sugar. It's such a workout, these vintage recipes, honestly. I feel like I've done a good old session in the gym. Okay, we're gonna try and roll out the Swiss roll. I have no idea how this is gonna go, but I've read that slow and steady wins the race. I'm not attempting this again. This is the final thing because I don't have time to do it again, so we're just gonna see. Okay, it has cracked in some places, but we're not gonna worry about that because what we're gonna do is use our butter icing just to try and make this mold together in some sort of cohesive way and then gently roll it back together. Like I say, you know, this is my first time attempting this recipe. I didn't expect perfection the first time around. Well, actually, this is technically my second attempt at making this recipe, but we're just gonna persevere and we're gonna make sure that when we get to decorating it and all of that lovely stuff, that it looks as chocolate Yule log-like as possible. So let's just use the filling to kind of cement it together. We are going to cover this with the rest of this butter icing as well, so I wouldn't worry too much about how it looks. At least that's what I'm telling myself, because it's all in the taste anyway. I mean, it looks like a log of sorts, but I think now it's all in the decoration to try and get this looking a little bit more presentable. But I think we can just about achieve it. I'm very confident. It doesn't have the exact spiral look that I wanted either side, but it's my first attempt and I'm sure it'll taste great. We're gonna cut this at an angle and maybe try and add a branch to our Yule log. You know, make it look really cottagecore-like. So I'm just gonna cut down like that. Oh, it's not so bad. I think we could have done a lot worse. And then we're gonna add that as like a little branch. I think that would be cute. Then we're gonna gently lift our beautiful creation. I mean, we've got a bit of spiralage happening. It's not the worst thing in the world. Gently. Really, this should be on a platter. I don't really have a platter. So it's gonna go on a plate. And then it's gonna have a little log, or branch, should I say, just there. I think this could have turned out a lot worse. Now we're gonna add our icing and try and tidy this up a little bit. Yeah, that looks a little bit neater. Little taste test. It tastes fantastic. So there's that. It's looking kind of like a tree branch. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not mad at it. It was pretty dicey as well. You've got to be really hot on your timing with this particular recipe. I feel the vision is now coming to life. The spiral isn't as neat as I'd want it to be, but I don't really mind. I'm not a cake decorator. I simply don't have the patience. And then what we're gonna do to add a bit more of a log-like look is we're going to gently brush it with a fork to kind of mimic a wood grain, hopefully. Okay, strangely, I don't hate it. Although I do feel like this has been a journey. So what I want to do now is add a little bit of cake decoration and then do a light dusting of snow, and that will be my attempt at a 1953 Christmas Yule log. But I have heard from people that you actually enjoy the fact that I'm not a chef and I don't always know entirely what I'm doing. So hopefully this was right up your alley. But I can't deny, although the spiral isn't quite neat, it does look like a log that you may find in the forest. And on that basis, I think I've done a pretty good job. So let's add some decoration, give it a sprinkle of snow, and then I'm probably just going to eat a little bit of offcut with the chocolate icing on the top, because I'd like to save this and have it as a celebration dessert with my family. So I'll just try a little bit with you today. I kind of have an idea of how it tastes because half of it I've eaten from my fingers. I wash my hands, don't worry. Let's add the finishing touches, which, by the way, in the recipe, this is very important, I'll look at the state of everything, should be a robin and a sprig of holly on top, hence why I wore my robin Christmas jumper, which is filthy. I'm absolutely filthy. So I have indeed that, a little mini robin, a little Merry Christmas, and a sprig of holly. So I'll probably dust it with a bit of snow first and then add these as the finishing touches. So there we have it, my first, technically second attempt at a traditional chocolate Yule log. And you know what? I don't think this is half bad. I still think that this would look rather impressive and incredibly festive and a little bit cottagecore on any Christmas table. And the point is, I tried my best. And I think that's the joy that I get out of being in the kitchen, particularly making vintage recipes, is that I don't always get it right. I fail more times than I succeed, but I experiment. And that's the energy that I'm hoping to move forward with in the new year. Not being afraid to try new things. And more importantly, not being afraid to just sit in the struggle and embrace the challenge, because it helps me stay a lot more in the moment. And what a moment this was, because this was a really challenging recipe, which I did not expect, but I think we did all right. And with that, let's give it a little taste. Okay, I have my little offcut. Let's give her a try. All in? Yeah. Now listen, if you're not a chocolate fan, I would not recommend making this dessert, but for the chocolate lovers out there like me, this would be perfect. And the great thing about it is, because it's so sweet and full of flavour, you wouldn't need a massive slice to have that satisfaction of our second stomach, which is for desserts. I mean, we all know that. You'd only need a slither, and that way it will last a lot longer. And of course, the ingredients are from a very vintage recipe book, so hopefully they're not too hard to come by. 10 out of 10 for that Christmas chocolate fix. But yeah, there she is. And of course, if you attempt this recipe, you'll probably do a lot better than I did, so that you can really achieve that Christmassy, vintage/retro storybook charm that everybody hopes for at their dinner table. A showstopper dessert if ever I saw one. Now I need to sort this kitchen out because we are in a mess, as am I, and so I shall see you in the next one, and happy festive season.